Hello, everyone. In the previous videos, we have covered good set of concepts with LabVIEW LLM libraries. We started with models. We looked at how you can actually augment your data into the models. We also looked at its limitations. We also looked at retrieval augmented generation, um, how to actually get the data prepared for retrieval augmented generation. We also had touched upon agents that we have. And in this video, we're going to look at user interface. Um, it's an interesting topic actually. So far, we have seen some boring front panels um, with traditional lab view controls, arrays, string indicators to interact with generative AI models, agents in LabVIEW. But I think we have to provide a much more better user interface. And one of the common user interface or user experience that people are used to interacting with agents are chat interfaces. So with LLM libraries, under user interface collections, we have a chat interface built using web technologies, React, HTML, CSS, um, and which you can actually natively call in LabVIEW. So you can have a much more better user experience to interact with agents. I'll have a quick demo and then I'll also explain how you can actually create one. Right. So let me open LabVIEW here and open the project. And I'm going to run the LabVIEW. So the left side is just an image, just to kind of give you, hey, this is an application, but it's nothing much. On the right side, we have a sub panel that loads the chat interface, right? I'll kind of talk about how you can actually integrate this into your LabVIEW application. But first, let's actually experience the user interface, right? So now I can come here to the chat interface, say, um, like, hello, typical way of we starting communication with our models, and it comes back. It also says assistant is typing. Yes, it is actually working on the answer. And once it has the answer to the question that you have, it comes back and responds um, here. It's given a bit and says, "Hey there, how can I help you?" Now I can ask, "What is this application about?" It'll look at the data. We are using the same agent that I kind of covered in the last video, which is simple QA agent, and it has the similar data set. So it actually has information about this particular application. So it kind of comes back and says, this application is about fluid management systems designed for industry, blah, 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 whatnot, right? And it also has the error information. So um, I, uh, I mean, instead of me telling I have an error, I can actually invoke an error. um, so it kind of invoked an error and it'll look at an error and then come back and say what could have potentially caused this particular error. So I think the LLM probably is working on it, and it comes back and says the possible reason for the error 803 is because the pump 3 status error, right? So it's the data are same that we have seen with RAGs and our agents. Just the experience is different, right? It's much more intuitive for users, colorful, modern, whatnot. You also have an option to clear the history if you wanted, so you can start from scratch. One thing you noticed also, it has the conversation. I can say, um, explain more about the above error. When I provide it, essentially, right, it has the track of the conversation, so it knows what the above error is and it tries to do more. So the provider source information does not contain additional details, but that's fine. It still knew that the above error is 8903, which means it has access to the context from the above, right? So it is much more conversational experience using our agent, right? So how do we build this? Again, um, the way the APIs are structured is all you need to know is a handful of APIs, right? In this particular case, let me actually stop and create a new VA and go to the function palette, LabVIEW libraries, UI, chat UI, and I'm going to pin this. So the APIs that we have is instantiate. You have to give a subpanel reference in which you wanted the chat interface to be loaded. And when the VA stops, you need to do a destroy. Typical instantiate and the opposite, the destroy, right? While instantiating, you also need to register some events, web events, and you need to register that to your event structure. What these two tests is, user prompt is whenever user types something in the chat interface, in the interface, this user event would be triggered, and you will get what the user has typed in the web interface or the chat interface. um, so you can actually call your agent to get the response, and once you have the response, you can publish the response using LLM response, which will actually go back, right? So these are the all four VAs that you wanted to know. While initialize and register the events. Whenever an event user prompt event is triggered, you just use your agents to find an answer and then send the response back to the chat interface through print LLM responses. And then when the when the application stops, just destroy it, right? So this is all it takes to integrate this chat interface into your application. Now, let me quickly show you that we have a JK state machine. We are a fan of JK state machine. Um, so in here you have UI initialize, where there is a sub. We have initialized the chat interface. There's a sub panel init chat UI, and we got these uh, two user events and registered the user events with our event structure. And whenever user prompt event gets triggered, we take the user message and store that as a last message and initiate agent task. Agent task just tries to get the agent response. This is in ask your data mode, so it gets the response, gives it back to update chat message. In update chat message, um, we just tell the user interface back telling there is a new chat interface, right? And then when the system exits, we actually do a UI initialize, which is essentially unregistering the user event and then destroying the UI object. Yeah. So this is how simple it is for you to integrate the chat interface into your LLM application. Right. This probably it's going to take you 5 to 10 minutes max. If you have the libraries in place, just drop these VAs, connect the wires, and have a chat interface running next to your application quickly. So yeah. Thanks for watching the video, and if you have any feedbacks or improvements on this particular library, feel free to share it on our GitHub page. Thank you so much.